It's 3 minutes after 7, and we're ready to convene. Oh, there it is. Okay. So we'll call the meeting to order. I firstly would like to introduce one of our today's Amherst Town Council member who's attending the meeting. Sitting over there in between Bill and Dwayne is Olivia Pulsifer. So Olivia's in grade 12. She attends E.B. Chandler. She lives here in town on Rhodes Avenue. A very involved student at school and in extracurricular activities. She participates on the E.B. Chandler Student Council, the WE Club. She also volunteers with the CanScape program, and I understand that Deputy Chief Pike is going to get skating lessons from Olivia. Good luck with that. All right. This is her first year on council, and it's always nice to see the young people getting involved. Very interested in policy and looking forward to taking part in this. She really wants to focus on making the town a better place and creating fun activities for people of all ages. You've got lots of support at this table with those ideas. Thank you for coming. Next it will be O Canada, and we have a guest singer tonight, Casey Arsenault. Casey's in grade 6 French immersion at the Cumberland North Academy. She loves to sing and act. Last year she auditioned for a role in the Halifax Anne of Green Gables movie. Yeah. Casey also plays basketball and enjoys skiing. So let's all welcome Casey here and stand up and singing the national anthem. Agenda has been circulated. Are there any additional items that anyone wishes to bring forward? Thank you. Then move to approve the agenda. Deputy Mayor Christie, Councilor McKenzie, all in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. The minutes from our meeting on December the 19th have been circulated. Any errors or omissions? Not the motion to approve the minutes. Councilor Reinders, Councilor Jones, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Unanimous. And we move on to section 5, item 5.1, smart grid net zero energy. And that will be meeting that issue.
Great. Great, Your Worship.
Mr. Harrod, thank you.
Thank you. Back in November, Council expressed its support and principle to proceed with an RFP to engage a consultant to do a feasibility study that would identify opportunities, investment required, potential partners, payback, ROI, and local and regional economic development benefits of a net zero energy project, and gave direction to make applications to ACOA and the province for funding support for that study. Since then, a fair amount of work has been done. An application was submitted to ACOA under the Innovative Communities Fund for the feasibility of a smart grid, smart community pilot project. That study would see an opportunity analysis and a guiding framework for a full-scale smart grid pilot project here in Amherst. This study will define the scope of work, a number of other aspects, economics, emissions impact, job creation, that could be realized under the project. And it is anticipated that the pilot project that could follow would involve the installation of a suite of distributed energy generation smart grid technologies in one or two municipal buildings, perhaps a commercial building here in Amherst. The pilot would position us as an incubator for studying the deployment of smart grid technology while saving the town in energy costs and perhaps reducing greenhouse gas emissions. In consultation with our private sector partner, government partners, we understand that $50,000 has been budgeted for the study, with a request for $25,000 or 50% from ACOA, and the province has indicated a strong interest in being a partner. It is anticipated they will provide up to 25%, $12,500 or more of the project cost. In order to qualify for the program as a proponent, the town must contribute at least 10% or $5,000 of the project cost. And however, we feel that it's prudent to commit up to 25% to avoid delays, so the approval being sought is up to 25 or up to 12.5, or perhaps as low as 5. It should be noted in terms of timing, though, that it's quite likely that other communities are pursuing similar projects under the same program, so it's important that we get our oar in the water, so to speak. So the motion that should be considered by council is that the council commit the town to spend at least $5,000 and up to $12,500 as the town's contribution to a $50,000 smart grid, smart community pilot project feasibility study to be funded from the economic development budget.
Thank you very much. Would somebody care to then make that motion? Councillor Blanche. Deputy Mayor Christie, any questions or further discussion on that motion? And we'll ask the question. Question?
Just a question,
Councillor Byrne?
Your Worship. Timelines, that's all. Just I need.
Fair question. Fair question, Your Worship, to Councillor Byrne. If our preference is that it's immediately, we are experiencing a little bit of a delay just as the province goes through its due diligence through the Department of Energy and does its homework on its contribution. The RFP is essentially ready to go, so once the province's contribution is confirmed, I think we'll be ready to submit. The feasibility study itself, the response times for the RFP are about 3 weeks or a month, so 30 days from issue, and then I believe it's another 6 to 8 weeks to actually complete the study and provide the information. So we're looking at the spring, Councillor, March or the April sort of thing. That's of all approvals that we're seeking are approved.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion as presented?
Aye.
Any opposition? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.2, 10 Newton Avenue demolition order. I guess I can give you background on it.
Perhaps we can call on Mr. McDonald to do that, Your Worship.
All right, Jason, would you give us the background on this one?
Thank you, Your Worship. Whereas a complaint had been received on April 22nd, 2016 regarding the physical condition of the building located at 10 Newton Avenue. And whereas the property was inspected by the Dangerous and Unsightly Premises Administrator and deemed to be dangerous and unsightly as per the definition contained in the Municipal Government Act. And whereas it was determined that the condition of the dwelling does not meet the minimum standards for residential occupancy and is considered to be unsafe, structurally unsound, unfit for human habitation, and also poses a risk to the neighborhood because of rodent activity and potential transient activity. And furthermore, that there is also a large amount of debris, building materials scattered around the property that need to be removed. And whereas at a meeting held on June 6, 2016, the following motion was passed by the Planning Advisory Committee. And the motion was that the dwelling at 10 Newton Avenue be demolished and foundation backfilled within 30 days from the date of this committee meeting, with all work to be done by the property owners. Failure to do so will result in the town completing the work. And whereas on June 8, 2016, the owner of the property contacted the town of Amherst to appeal the order to demolish the building on the property. And whereas recent inspections of the property indicate that the condition of the dwelling has not been improved by the owner. And whereas on this date, earlier today at 6:30, the town of Amherst held a public hearing to consider the appeal of the aforementioned demolition order. The motion would be in order.
Would somebody then care to make the motion?
Can I just change the motion or no? Can I?
You can make any motion you want.
Okay, I'll do a motion that the dwelling at 10 Newton Avenue be demolished and foundation backfill, and further all the debris, rubbish and the building material be removed from the property within ASAP of today's date. Can I do that? That's no.
I think we need a number for timeline. 30 days is probably reasonable.
Okay. Okay, remove the property within 30 days of this date, with all work to be done by the property owners. Failure to do so will result in the town's completing the work and adding the cost of the tax account of the property.
Thank you. We have a seconder. Councilor Jones. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any contrary minded? Unanimous. Thank you very much. The next item is 5.3 Catering Bar Services Policy for Quebec. Mr. Sturman.
Your Worship, on November 21st, 2016, staff presented an amended user fee policy to Committee of the Whole, recommending the removal of the bar service fee of $70 and the catering kitchen fee of $100, and recommending that a new food and beverage policy be developed for the facility. The recommendation at that time was to establish a list of providers of food and beverages and establish a royalty to be paid to the town based on the cost of food and beverages provided. At that time, the direction of the Committee of the Whole was that staff be directed to review the user fees for the Credit Union Community Business Innovation Center compared to similar sized centers within 100-mile radius to determine what is best for the community and present a report to council. Staff conducted a scan of 16 facilities, including Amherst, Spring Hill, Truro, Perrysboro, Sackville, Moncton, and Summerside, and others. The results of that scan are attached. What we found is that each facility is unique in the services it provides and how those services are delivered and charged. The 3 facilities that we were most able to identify with were NSCC Amherst, ARHS, Susan Taylor Theater, and the Dr. Carson and Marion Murray Community Center in Spring Hill. Based on the results of the survey of the prices of those 3 facilities, staff are recommending the town adopt a new schedule of fees using a commercial and community rates, with community being anything that isn't commercial, government, or business. Community rates are based on 60% of the commercial fees to be levied. The new schedule further differentiates between small and large groups, one of the groups less than 40 people and one being 40 or more people. Boardroom catering surcharge would apply only when the kitchen is used.
Thank you. Would somebody care to doubt and make that motion? Deputy Mayor Christie, seconder. Councilor Byrne. Are there any further questions or discussion on this motion? Then I'll ask. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. facility naming policy is next, Mr. Chairman.
At the September 26, 2016 Committee of the Whole meeting, Council directed staff to prepare a brief report discussing the most appropriate facility to rename in honor of Dwight Jones and the necessary arrangements to achieve this. This is not the first request to honor someone by naming a facility after them, and staff believe having an established policy in place will guide the process for this and future such requests. Policy has been developed, reviewed, and streamlined, with the new version setting out the criteria and process for naming public and town-owned facilities or properties, including a public engagement process if necessary. Policy includes the following criteria, which may be used by council in determining the appropriateness of the naming designation: a noteworthy public figure or official, a person, place, or event of historical or cultural significance, special benefactors, living or dead or deceased, a person, group, place, or feature particularly identified with the public land or facility. Exceptions to the naming criteria can be approved by council if an occasion to recognize the outstanding contribution of a living person is determined.
So, Your Worship, just let the record show that Councillor Jones is declaring potential conflict because his brother Dwight's name is mentioned in the text there. So.
All right, then, the council.
I'll make a motion that council approving the naming of public land and town-owned facilities policy as outlined.
Second, Councilor Ryan, any further discussion, questions? Councilor Blanche.
As I voiced in the committee of the whole meeting when we discussed this topic, I don't feel that this policy brings anything new or useful to this council or future councils. It mostly gives us the ability to do things we already have the ability to do. I won't take up time going into the details here, as I did at the committee of the whole, but I thought I should make that point. I also don't feel that this policy is in any way destructive or harmful. I just don't think it's necessary. Thank you.
Anyone else? And I'll ask the question, all in favor of this motion? Opposition? So, 5 yea, 1 nay. Rebecca, thank you. We have nothing under items 6, 7. Internal committee reports?
Let's invite Councillor Jones back, Your Worship.
Yes, please. So that should be item 5.5. All right, sorry, I missed item 5.5, which is appointments to the audit committee.
So, Your Worship, just in terms of process, it's probably appropriate that we missed this item in generating the agenda, and then it was missed in the motion to approve the agenda. So, in order to make sure that it's properly before council, probably a motion to amend the agenda and add it as item 5.5 would be in order.
Seconded by Councilor Blanche, Jones and Blanche. And thank you. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Any opposition? Unanimous, thank you. Okay. I think it's pretty clear there were expressions of interest sought from the community regarding the audit committee, and there is a motion up there. If somebody would care to make that motion official, it was on the floor. Councilor Reimers, seconder. Councilor Blanche. Any further questions or discussion? On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, thank you. And now we'll move on to internal committee reports. 7.1, Planning Advisory Committee. Councilor McKenzie.
The Planning Advisory Committee met on January 9th. Items on the agenda include a public participation opportunity for an application for the development agreement for the 150 East Victoria Street to permit the conversion of an existing motel to 11-unit apartment complex, as well as the application for the development agreement for 34 Mallard Drive to construct 2 4-unit townhouse dwellings. In both cases, the committee made a motion to defer the application and instruct staff to provide more information or negotiate changes to the agreement as a result of the public participation opportunity. Also on the agenda was a recommendation for demolition of 26 Park Street. The committee passed a motion that the dwelling be demolished and foundation backfilled within 30 days from the date of the PAC meeting, with all the work being done by the property owners. Failure to do so will result in the town completing the work.
Thank you. This comes to...
Does anybody have any questions or issues to raise with Councilor McKenzie? Okay, well, thank you for your report. Item 7.2, call on Olivia Pulsifer to report from the Amherst Youth Town Council for us.
Okay, thank you. The Amherst Youth Town Council has met December 19th, 2016 at the Community Credit Union Business Innovation Center and January 11th, 2017 at the Police Station Community Room. Amherst Youth Town Council members have discussed the following subjects in the past 2 meetings. School survey. Having an online survey where students can give their input on the town in a quick 3-question survey. And the questions can include, have you heard of Amherst Youth Town Council? Are you informed about activities around the town? What would you like to see more of in the town of Amherst pertaining to youth? We've also discussed having a youth board through Facebook where parents or kids can see local youth activities throughout Amherst. Having a 24-hour activity day, including things like police and firefighter appreciation, youth talent show with different age groups. Potential sledding hills, hauling snow to Dickey Park, to create hills for sledding, and the Winter Carnival Valentine Run. Amherst Youth Town Council will be running a water station at the 2017 Valentine's Run on February 18th at 9 a.m. Relay for Life. Planning different fundraisers and opening up our team to youth to make it a youth team. And our main focus of the year, of the 2016-2017 school year, is getting students grades 7 to 12 out of the house and getting involved with the town.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Pulsifer? Councilor Blanche.
Hey, Olivia. I know that you're not yet at voting age, but I did notice that you were doing an online survey, and I thought it would be really interesting. One of the things that the council's been talking about is if we should have electronic voting in Amherst, so that when it comes time for a municipal election to elect people like ourselves in, people would be able to go onto their tablet or computer, smartphone I suppose, and vote without going to a poll. And I just thought you brought a different perspective, being younger and maybe even a little more comfortable with technology than some of the people in the room. And I wondered, from your perspective, if that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great idea just where everybody doesn't have to wait in line for the poll, or they don't have to rush around trying to fit voting into their schedule if you have a busy day or if you're working for a day. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I just have one question. I'll piggyback on Jason's. Since you're doing a survey, do you want to survey your crew? Because hopefully the next election, some of you will be old enough to vote. So do you just want to ask your participants if they're interested in electronic voting?
I will ask them if they're interested in electronic voting.
All right, let's just put in your survey, see what you get. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much. We'll move on to external committee reports. And we'll start with Councilor McKenzie, Cumberland Public Libraries.
Okay, we had election of officers. The board elected Dale Fawthrop as president and Councillor Wayne McKenzie as treasurer. So we did, they did food for fines. For the 10th year, during the month of December, the Cumberland Public Library collects foods for fines. In December 2016, the Amherst Library forgave $976 in fines, while collected 479 food items for the Amherst Food Bank. Annual book sale, Cumberland Public Library held their annual book sale in the first week of December at the Forefathers Library, and our grand total this year was 1,040. Books sale proceeds go to the purchase of new books for the Cumberland Public Libraries. The stats in the month of November, Cumberland Public Library signed out over 9,340 items, 3,838 items in the Amherst alone. This includes books, movies, TV shows, magazines, and more. Also in November, the Forefathers Library held 24 programs for children and adults, with 503 people in attendance. 4,936 people visit our Forefathers Libraries during the month of November. Our next board meeting will be February 2nd, 2017.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councilor McKenzie? No, thank you very much. We'll move on to 8.2, Cumberland YMCA, reporting as Deputy Mayor Christie.
As of January the 3rd, 2017, the Cumberland YMCA membership is at 946. 150 are sponsored members. This number is quite low, but neither the Biggest Challenge or the swim lesson memberships are included in this number, nor is the big surge of members that usually come in January, which is right after Christmas, everybody's wellness. After January, we'll see this number much higher. For comparison membership, on January 26, 2016, it was 1,262 and 1,143 on January 26, 2015. Try the Y final numbers had 155 people got to try the Y passes in November. 31 then became members. Home for the Holidays promotion, which is a new promotion for the Y. 24 people took advantage of this for Home for the Holidays promotion, which was more of a flex pass for students coming home for the holidays. Y Canada Network Advisory Group, Trina Clark's additional year on the advisory group to the CEO of the Y Canada was complete with the close of 2016. Trina served on this committee for 4 years. The winter schedule for aquatics and fitness is now underway. There are lots of great programs this winter, including new classes and activities for our youth center. The YMCA has received $25,000 donation for its endowment fund, and the Cumberland Y Service Club donated $15,000 to the Y Strong Kids campaign in December.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions for the Deputy Mayor Christie? Thank you. Cumberland Joint Services Management Authority, Councillor Byrne.
Okay, reports in your package, I'm not going to read it to you. There are a couple of items of interest that you should be aware of. The landfill, as we discussed in committee of the whole, is scheduled to go for 2018, and we are in a short time frame to decide what to do going forward. Also, on from a budgetary point of view, there were some cutbacks in the Burton, Nova Scotia, formerly RFB. However, after much pleading from the 7 solid waste regions, they did get some of it back. However, they do not anticipate this to be an ongoing issue, in the sense that there will be no more additional funding coming. The province is doing a efficiency study to determine how many provincial waste solid waste plants there may be in Nova Scotia. Right now there are 9. They've received some correspondence from the province that says BC has 1, so there's some trepidation that we may go down to 1 or 2. back to item 1, the cell development. We had our first board meeting on the 19th where the budget was presented. And as Mr. Hart provided us in the committee of the whole, there are some issues that we need to grab hold to get this under control. The one thing that I will suggest that everybody do is go on to the App Store and download the CJSMA Recollect application. It's a great bit of technology to remind you when to put your garbage out, to remind you what to put out in your garbage, and even remind you that when you put your Christmas tree out. And if you don't know where it goes, you can type it in and it'll tell you where it goes. So it's a great piece of technology. It hasn't been well publicized, but it's a lot of fun. And for those people that are absent-minded, and we refer to particularly to our CAO who has a problem with sorting, he will tell you which bag to put it in. So on that note, that is my report for the Economic Joint Service Management Authority.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Councillor Byrne? No? All right, we'll move along then. Northern Region Solid Waste Committee, Councillor Reinders.
Worship, members of council, Northern Region update, January 2017. In November 2016, the Nova Scotia Department of Environment provided the bridge funding in the amount of $100,000 to each of the 7 waste regions in Nova Scotia in order to offset the reuse of the funding received from Divert Nova Scotia. At this meeting held January 13, 2017, the Northern Region Solid Waste Committee passed a motion to distribute this funding according to the population survey by each of East Hants, Colchester, and Cumberland. As such, CJSMA will receive $29,104.72 from this allotment. Also, at this meeting, the committee elected Tom Target to the position of chair. I so move.
Questions for Councillor Reinders? Thank you very much for your report. The last report is the LA Animal Shelter, and that's me. On January 18th, there were 2 meetings, the public annual general meeting and the monthly board meeting. Good news, bad news, they had many fewer dogs available for adoption. They usually get litters of puppies that they actually make profit on and help support the shelter, so that was a negative. Cat adoptions were improving. They still have difficulties there, even in spite of waiving the necessary fees for an adoption, and all these fees are to cover veterinary costs, etc. Because they have animals that are either bonded pairs, and they have difficulty having people take the pair of animals, or they're animals that have had such difficulties with other animals or children, and so they're long-term stayers, which is a bit of a problem. They had an online auction, and to date, it's raised over $5,000. They provided a detailed financial report. The net income for last year was minus $3,991.55, and I'm told this is actually very good. They're usually in the hole more than that each year. This is an improvement. They have a calendar that's been selling very well as a fundraising venture, and when they reached $5,000, there had been an agreement. The Bank of Nova Scotia was going to match it, and they did. So those are highlights from the AGM. Their general board meeting was more discussive. Again, the loss of revenue from the lack of dogs to adopt out. They have a paint night as a fundraiser on February 21st. I think that's at the Elm Tree, and it was nearly sold out. If anyone's interested, you can go to their website. There were only 8 tickets left as of the date of the meeting. There was some general discussion about prioritization of what needs to be done from the physical plant perspective of the shelter itself. No conclusions, just the beginning of some of the discussion. And there we discussed plans of having a meeting combining the people working at the shelter, the police and town council to discuss revisiting some of the bylaws in relation to animal control. The biggest concern is animals that are chronically running free. Me and I believe only one other municipality in Nova Scotia have no limit when they can permanently take the animals, so there may be some discussion of the bylaws, their enforcement and changes, and that will be happening in the future. Any questions? Council, don't make it tough.
No,
Councilor
just
Ryan.
to worship, just to bring it up, we were talking about the dog park. Only 81 dogs registered their dogs. If everybody would get their dog taxes for their dog, that would certainly help the animal shelter. And then back, probably a year ago, a year and a half, they were having some problems with their buildings. They had no money to do anything. I don't know what happened to the buildings, if they repaired them or what, you know anything about that?
Well, being that was my first meeting and only having been out to the shelter one time, I can't specifically say. But the discussion of how to go about maintaining the physical plant was certainly undertaken and they're being looked at. As far as the dog tags, the suspicion and from our previous discussion is that there's a lot of unregistered dogs, but I believe the tag fees don't go to the shelter directly. They're at a town tax. Correct me if I'm wrong. However, I think it's still important that people who have a dog register the dog and tag them and have the fee paid. So I agree with that.
Our arrangement with the shelter, your worship, does up to an amount that's well beyond any amount that matters. We do turn over the dog fee, the dog license is directly back to the shelter.
Great, thank you for informing me. Councillor Blanche.
Your worship, I am well aware that you're new, so you may not know the answer to this question. I'm curious about the point 1 and point 4 almost seem to me to be in contradiction, and in that 1, there aren't enough dogs to let out, although it's talks specifically about puppies, and then in 4, there's too many dogs at large. And so I guess I'm just looking for a little bit of understanding about where are these puppies coming from that aren't anymore?
Well, basically, when people have, there are many times when people's dog would have a litter of puppies, and they're not prepared to have and care for those puppies. You give them away, sell them, find homes for them, they give them to the shelter. And that's actually very profitable because puppies move. They're a commodity that people like. So the fewer puppies being born is a good thing because it means their pushing of spaying and neutering dogs is working, but it actually creates a revenue loss. So it's a good news, bad news, I think. That's what they mean by that. Now, dogs running at large are not, they're people's pets who have just escaped from home or whatever confinement they have, and they get, the canine control officer gets the dog, and they're ultimately returned to the rightful owner. The question was, how many times is that going to happen before the dog is apprehended permanently and found a new home? And according to what they told me, we and one other municipality don't have a number as a finite limit, and they're requesting that that be developed. And that's what the primary point of the future meetings is going to be about, to discuss that and enforcement of that.
Very informative, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I wonder if I might have council's permission to add another item to the agenda, your worship, that we did discuss in committee of the whole, is fairly time sensitive.
Any objections to Mr. Herrick bringing something forward?
I could make the motion, I bet.
So
You need a formal motion or?
that would be great.
All right.
That would be great. And the item is a recommendation from the CGSNA with regard to storage issues and fire safety.
Okay, so you're making the motion there, Councillor Blanche?
I move that we add the storage issue and the recommended funding to the agenda.
Seconded, Deputy Mayor Christie, all in favor? Any opposition? Unanimous, thank you. Proceed.
Appreciate council's patience, your worship. It has been a particularly hectic series of meetings today, and so we've slipped up a few times, so I apologize for that. The issue, though, is one that comes from the CGSMA, of which the town of Amherst is one of the municipal partners. If you recall in our earlier conversations about how the governance of the CGSMA works, and that certain expenditures that exceed budget require the approval of a number of the member units. One of the items that was discussed at the most recent board meeting was that a fire inspection of the recycling facility had been conducted due to a complaint. And although there were a number of minor issues that were dealt with, there was one remaining significant issue, and that was storage of certain materials within the recycling facility and compliance with the National Fire Code. And so it wasn't an issue that was able to be addressed, and the facility and location wasn't able to be brought into compliance by just minor adjustments. So there were a number of options presented to the board, but the one that was selected by the board on Thursday and recommended and forwarded to the units for approval was the installation of 20 seagoing containers to increase the storage capacity at the recycling facility, and the construction and installation of a concrete asphalt pad to accommodate those containers. The cost of the pad's about $50,000, and that's included in the CGSMA's budget, but the $100,000 cost of those sea containers isn't. And so this would fall into one of those buckets of items that exceed the budget by more than $20,000 requires a special resolution. So the board has brought that forward and forwarded it to the member units for approval. This was our first meeting after that board meeting. It is a fairly urgent item, and it is recommended for council. It's recommended that council approve that, and then we communicate that approval back to the CGSMA.
Any questions for Mr. Harris at this point?
I have one. Let's just start off with Mr. Harris. $100,000. Is that the 5 units or just us?
Great question, Councillor. That's the total gross cost, and it will be funded. And brings up another good point. It will be funded internally by the CGSNet. So there isn't a requirement for the town of Amherst to write a check for its share of $100,000. There exist in the CGSNA equipment and capital reserve funds sufficient to pay for this. This is simply a governance issue and an approval issue to get it in play and paid for. So, answer your first question is at the authority level, it's not just our share, it's the total amount. And the second question that you didn't ask, but I'll answer anyway, is that the funds do exist at CGSNA level to do it.
So I'll entertain somebody making the motion.
I make a motion make the motion that CGSM go ahead with $100,000.
So thank you. Your worship, the motion should probably be in the order that the council accepts the recommendation of the CGSNA board to fund the installation of those sea containers. Sorry, Councillor.
No, that's good. Get the wording right. And so you're okay with the wording? Perfect. Seconder to that, Councillor Jones. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor then? Any opposition? Unanimous.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience.
Our pleasure. We're here to serve the people. That brings us to the end of the meeting's agenda. So, motion to adjourn. Seconded. Approved. All in favor? See you in February. Thanks to all the people who joined us.